everybody? Toby Nunn from Stu and the Nun here with my main man, The Stu. Welcome to episode 126. I am broadcasting from the new world headquarters in Georgetown, Tejas. Stu, where are you at tonight?
I am in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. I came to see the president, but he's in Nashville, so I'm hanging out here tonight. You know, that's where he goes.
You know, like, I hope he's there for the music and not the barbecue.
No, there's some good food there, but you're right, it's probably not barbecue.
Everybody that's watching is like, man, we have 3 people on the screen. Who's that pretty lady that's like, you know, making us look good? Let's introduce her really fast. I want to introduce you to our good friend, Shantae Myers. Shantae, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Full disclosure, the reason why we're late today, if anyone's listening, they've realized that we are late. And that's because Bush League Toby couldn't get the tech right tonight. And so, Shantae, thank you for your patience. We just ate up 15 minutes of time. It's not coming out of your bill. We'll go late just to accommodate. I'm a poet. We'll go late just to accommodate. But it should be good to go. And welcome to the show. You are with Centurion Military Alliance. And we're going to get into that in a second. But first, tell us a little bit about your service.
Absolutely. So I was in the Air Force, 10 years active duty, almost 5 years as a reservist, and held a few hats, was logistics during my active duty time. And then I deployed with the Army overnight, basically. I was in education and training, and they called me and told me that I was going to be deploying with the Army as a combat lifesaver. When that happened, I kind of thought it was a joke initially because I was logistics, but it was real world, learning how to do IVs on the dirty warehouse floor at Fort Carson, Colorado. After that deployment, my dad had retired at the time. My whole family is military, and I kind of called home crying, saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I was Air Force. I don't want to do the Army thing. But it had led me to a passion for the medical field, and I thought that I would try and pursue that. When you were in the Air Force active duty, you couldn't cross-train from logistics to medic, so I transitioned out, joined the reserve the next day, and went to medic training.
Nice. It always cracks me up when someone says combat lifesaver, you know, because
yeah.
Why is that?
Well, it's like I think I had to have everyone in my platoon almost certified, right? It's and you know you're everyone knows the combat lifesaver is the guy that's gives you reassuring word, and if the combat lifesaver is telling you hey man, everything's gonna be okay, and you hear oh damn, there's a medic coming.
Something's not right here.
There's a medic coming. I'm in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And I've realized that they stopped doing the combat lifesaver training that they used to do with the practice of the IVs on the dirty warehouse floor. I heard through the grapevine they don't do that anymore. So
that's nice.
That's nice. Yeah, because I know my poor supervisor stuck me 6 times as a logistician, never touching a needle. Yeah.
I really enjoyed doing the IVs. I enjoyed it. It didn't bother me a bit.
Because you were helping people, or because you just like to hurt people?
No. I really liked doing it. I didn't mind people doing it to me. I enjoyed the training. I thought it was really cool. The one that I didn't like was the nasal pharyngeal. Where you had
that'll put a hurt on you.
Yeah, you had to choose your partner carefully. I didn't care. I'd let any of my guys stick me with the needle. I'd stick any of my guys. I'd let them do it wherever they wanted to do, my hand, my foot, wherever. I didn't care. Never bothered me.
So many
Choose
jokes,
wisely on the nasal pharyngeal.
Jokes.
I was like, I can't even look up. I can't save this.
But with the NASA, you always had those guys that were just top of the notch that wanted to prove, right? They had to prove a point that they could just do it. Yeah, just.
So let me tell you, when I first did an IVs, it was in 1994, 3 or 4, in 29 Palms, California. We jumped in from Alaska, and they gave us all IVs in case someone got dehydrated into the California desert. And we were so dehydrated and so without supplies that we all just started giving each other IVs for fun. And in fact, that's how we stay hydrated. So I got my first IV training on the fly by a combat lifesaver, just telling me how to do my tubes are in the middle, like laying out in the sun like iguanas. So
Wow.
I went to, yeah, and it was like, if you stick him 3 or 4 times, he's going to stick you 3 or 4 times. So when I went to combat lifesaver training, I was like, oh, this is how you're actually supposed to do it.
Then you have to get all serious. Well, the reason
right.
Shantae is on the show tonight is because I've known Shantae for years, and I've watched from the sidelines as a very interested third party on some amazing stuff in the veteran and military community. And like I know she's doing well because she keeps connecting with some of my old bosses. And anytime you connect with some of my old bosses, like you're actually doing something in the Army. But her and her husband, who FYI, former Army infantryman, so like she's got great taste.
So like legit.
Yeah, legit. So she's got great taste, and those are the exact people.
Go for that blue cord. What I'm talking about.
Yeah, so often, too often, we see the people that are getting the help are the people that don't need it or have more access to it. And, we need to get the guys and gals that really need this help and this assistance. We need to get it to them. We need to do a better job of doing that. And Shantae and Jared, that's her husband, are doing a fantastic thing about this. I've seen their events. I caught one at the Dell Diamond a couple of years ago. They did a military appreciation weekend. They did a whole workshop there during the day before the game. It was fantastic. But tell us a little bit about Centurion Military Alliance, how you guys got it started, the motivation to it, and then we're going to expand on a couple of things because we got some great stuff we want to get into with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started in 2011, I was working for another nonprofit organization that dealt with female veterans only. And Jared, my husband, he was actually a state coordinator for the state of Texas, one of the only ones at the time. And I know that they brought on several. We were both coming home and we were realizing, okay, we're meeting veterans in places that we never imagined. In the dark places, in the hurtful moments, in the places that we really don't want to discuss. And mental health conversations were on the rise at the time. A lot of money, I know $1 million at that point in time had been given to the state of Texas to help with mental health. And my father was on the other end. So, backdating, my entire family has served in the military, most being the Air Force. So my family was just beyond pleased when I married Army because finally, a step up. But backdating to my Air Force upbringing and being a dependent and then going straight into the military, what we realized is that how are we coming from wearing the military uniform and being so strong, standing so powerful, global organization that is the best of the best, to the next day hunched over, whispering barely if you're a veteran, crying out at the last minute for help. Because again, as a veteran, we're strong up until breaking point, if you will. And then all of a sudden we're crawling and we're needing this assistance and help. And my father was at the education point where he was working for a school and he was meeting the same veterans, month after month at these career fairs. And he was trying to say, hey, you need educational attainment. You need to start working on your degree. I fell short, him him telling them, I fell short. I didn't realize during my service the power in education, the barrier of languages, if you will. What speaks to civilians is our ability to articulate our education. And so he's seeing the same service members, career fair after career fair. They're not listening, one ear and out the other. No, man, I just need a job. I just need a job. So we, typical, military fashion, barbecues, a couple beers. How do we bridge the gap? Where do you target that service member or that veteran? How do you get to them before they're almost the other side of the road, before they're off the cliff? And so, again, with my family, my mother being security forces, my father being a PJ, kind of tough, kind of badass there, then recruiter, right? So, hey, me coming home crying, I deployed with the Army, them telling me, get your ass up, get a job, keep moving forward, get your education. Having that in my life, having those individuals to be the powerhouse and to ensure that they were encompassing all of my actions helped me stay strong. So now, how do we deliver that same message when behavioral health is key? We're looking at mental health. We're looking at, oh, it'll be okay. Go climb a mountain, go run a race. Here's a t-shirt, whatever the case may be. While all those things are good and beneficial, how do we ensure you can transition successfully? So that's when we started the 3 pillars: educational attainment, vocational proficiency, and financial literacy, more than balancing a checkbook. When Jared got out of the military in 2004 as an Army infantryman, being blown up in Iraq, it wasn't, at the time, his option. He didn't think about transitioning out of the military. It's, you're in the hospital 9 months, and you're being medically outed with, oh, by the way, 20% disability. Then the VA kicks in, then the medication kicks in, and then a couple years down the road, I have a family. Now I want to get life insurance. Well, you're not afforded the opportunity to get life insurance because of your VA rating. Financial literacy. What does that mean on the outside? So we started encompassing these things as a family, and again, as a support structure. So to have that support structure in place, how do we become that for others? And so we were the original, if you will, community-based program, now vetted by DOD, being invited by major military installations to come out and be the community-based program of choice. Phenomenal. We thank God for where we are now, and we want to continue to be able to support. And again, those 3 pillars are key to success.
So,
hey, real quick, I got a question. So you brought up something like balancing a checkbook, and this comes to a conversation that I've recently had, my wife and I have had about some stuff, but it seems like today's, and I don't want to term it as youth, because I won't say it's tied to anything about a certain generation. In fact, if anything, it's a generation before today's youth or 2 generations before. But it seems like we just lack, either because maybe we don't teach things like home ec and things in school, or maybe parents don't do it, but we lack basic life skills.
Man.
It seems.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. And have you seen that as the younger soldiers are coming out, younger service members are coming out, that they need more of those basic life skills, or is it really a little bit more of the basic like financial astuteness and
no,
insurance?
Yeah, I'm gonna go as far as to say, getting back to the basics, basic training 101. In a sense, what we're not taught. So here I am on the verge of turning 36, right? 36 and down. It's like that cliff coming, that train. And don't even make fun of me. But I go back to, I see your face, Toby. I go back to, I was 17 years old when I joined the Air Force. 17. And here I am thinking it's prior September 11th, right? It's prior 9/11. We're getting paid on the 1st and the 15th. I'm 17. I turn 18. Here's all these credit cards that start coming my way. The Abercrombie, the military star card. Let's just keep it to the military star card for a moment. Let's just keep it on installation, okay? Talk about getting goosebumps and the utter disgust that I feel when I think about being a young troop and my first commander sitting me down and saying, do you have a financial plan? Do you have a savings plan? Yes, sir, I do. I plan to marry a rich husband. He laughs, pats me on the head, sends me on my way. I get multiple awards throughout the years, Airman of the Year and CO of the Year, and I transition out from active duty to the reserves successfully. They had no clue the financial debt I was in. They had no clue all those, those credit cards that I had, because again, we all shop at the same store on installation, and we'll just keep it at that store. We're inundated with Coach, Michael Kors, whatever the brand may be, and then right outside the gate are all the car lots. I start thinking about it, right?
Credit, one enough.
Turn on. Fox News is not every other commercial. Hey, are you a veteran in need? Are you here's a loan for you, or here's a loan for you. So financial literacy, what does that even mean to us, other than we're governed by a regulation in the military and we're adhering to the regulation because we're paying our bills on time, because we're getting paid on the 1st and the 15th. After that, what happens? It's easy to see transition at its finest, and that slowly downtrodden hill, right? Crash and burn.
Yeah.
So, no, well, E1 and up will finance, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. But you hit on something real quick there. I'll date it back even more. When I came into my first unit in 1987, when I reported to Fort Hood, Texas, right out of airborne school, you're in a replacement detachment. I was there throughout 2 or 3 days, and I remember, because I was funny. My parents taught me how to write. I had a checkbook. I had multiple jobs in high school, and I knew how to balance a checkbook. But I remember that they gave classes to everyone coming in processing, how to write a check, how to balance a checkbook. Right? We had I forgot the name of it, but we had this own little. They used to have like their own internal little prison, reform camp on the bases that you got.
Charlie's Chicken Farm.
Yeah, like Charlie's Chicken Farm. Yeah, CCF. It was right next to the replacement. That's right where you in processed at Fort Hood, and they would show you like, there's that. See those dudes low crawling and getting screamed at. That's where you'll end up if you screw up. And oh, by the way, there's drug and alcohol counts, and you get DUI, you're going to end up over there. And here's the places to watch out for. Don't go to Nolanville. Watch out for Harker Heights. They gave you 3 or 4 days. You've already been trained in how to shoot a weapon, how to land nav. They gave you 3 or 4 days of like, welcome to the real life, and welcome. And for those that had been in for a while, and middle, senior enlisted, all went through the same program. Here's what you got to watch out for around the base. Here's what you need to pay attention to. And oh, by the way, young soldiers, there's the boss club. There's the all ranks enlisted club. Don't go in the officer section. Don't mess with the lieutenant's wife. All this kind of stuff. Because you were 18 years old, you're away from mommy and daddy. You had that checkbook, and they were like, don't go out Rancière Avenue. Don't hit that pawn shop. Don't do all that stuff. And I remember thinking, are these guys idiots? They really got to tell everyone this?
Yes.
But then I was in for a while, and I realized, wow, somebody missed those briefings.
Well, here's the sad fact though, is that one, as we embark on the enlisted road, and we'll look at that for a moment, we come in so young, yet given so much responsibility, and that's the difference. So now I fast forward and I look at the officer corps, and I look at some of these organizations, these financial institutions who have said, well, we're going to have a financial literacy program for our ROTC, for our cadets, for those that'll be coming in as lieutenants, so they can share this newfound knowledge with, trickle it down everyone else. And now I'm sitting there thinking, who in the military is listening to the lieutenant? Or I, as that was in the danger, who am I listening to? Who's my mentor? My supervisor, my first sergeant, typically the E8s, E9s, right? When you're looking at it from that level.
You had FaceTime with them.
So who should you be giving this knowledge to? Who should you be creating the courses for in that structure? And that's the beautiful thing right now that the Army's even looking at with the Sergeant Major's Academy, is that they know those are the individuals, those E9s going out to those different installations. They're the ones that are going to be spreading that knowledge. That's all part of CMA's program. That's what we preach. You have to look at who is able to articulate the message while you're in, if you're looking at that 360 life cycle, because transition starts from day one. Again, my husband didn't decide to get blown up and then he's out. Well, what happened prior to his deployment? Did he buy a car? Did he get a credit card? Did he, on and on and on. So now we look at all of us in transition. And when we transition out, when you're speaking of financial literacy, we all economically free fall 20 to 30K. Everybody off the cusp, right? So officer enlisted, we're all in the same boat. Transition does not discriminate. So when you're looking at it from that angle, then you look at for someone who retired, and I look at my father's story, retired after 25 years Air Force, has TRICARE, ends up getting cancer. Guess what? He's a military city. SAMC's booked, okay? They wouldn't even see him to start his MRI and to start getting the ball rolling. So that took a while for that process. Then you're looking at MD Anderson next because he has cancer yet again. And again, you think, well, TRICARE, MD Anderson needs more than just TRICARE. Thankfully, he had another insurance. And oh, by the way, before you start chemo and radiation, it's $20 a day to park. Financial literacy? Yeah. How much savings do you have?
Well, we were just talking about how when you arrived at base, all the things that you were taught at reception. I will say that I don't think the soldiers, and I'm speaking for the Army here, not on behalf of the Army, but I'm speaking about my experience with the Army, that the effort to educate, especially financially, service members has diminished. I mean, I remember I think I was 22 or 23, and I wanted to buy a car. And I'd purchased several cars in my life before that, felt pretty confident in my ability to do it. I knew what I needed to do. I'd done all the research. I found the vehicle that I really wanted. And I couldn't do it unless my platoon sergeant blessed off on it. And I remember going to my platoon sergeant and being like, at parade rest, hey Sergeant, Toby Nunn, Private Nunn here, I would like to buy this car. Okay, explain to me how you're going to do it. And I had to go through and demonstrate that I had the mental capacity and financial understanding. And back in the day, I think people were a little more hands-on that.
Dude, I remember talking to soldiers that met the loves of their life at the local strip club.
Yes.
And I'd be like, look, we're going to take a walk, dude. We're going to talk about your life, but let's talk about this.
But
wow.
But the amount of care and precision that was put in to educating people when they were getting in, that doesn't happen. I know, my transition out took, I want to say 48 hours. I went station to station. No one talked to me about anything. They were like, they're like, hey, Sergeant, here's your checklist. You got to, go get your stamp and signature from everybody on this checklist. And I wasn't at my home. I was at a base, not where I'm from. So I was kind of motivated to get out of there. And I also thought, that I had the skill sets and the understanding of the real world, we'll call it, to transition. But nobody made any effort to help me transition.
Were you at that point?
I got handed a book. It was
were you observer guard at that point?
Yeah, no, so I transitioned seamlessly from active duty to an active guard or to an activated guard unit. And then, so I didn't do I didn't have your typical guard experience. I was active the entire time, seamlessly. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, all right, you're done. We got back from Iraq and they're like, I'd already served over what my, contract was. And they were like, all right, and it was called refrad, release from active duty. They're like, here's your release from active duty orders you need to clear and goodbye.
Good luck.
And you know,
And
like
so
I
and
remember
so
someone
that's
handed me a book, and it was like from army green to corporate gray, and you know, I was like, but
well, and that's why I believe so much in what we're doing. I had a very similar experience with the reserves. Active duty, I went through the 3-day TAP program at the time, and now thankfully it's a 5-day TAP program. We are supported by Soldier for Life, and when you're
right.
looking at a lot of the different Air Force installations and what they're doing in Marine for Life, they're trying to bridge the gap with the resources that they have available, and so we're supportive and understanding of that. In my opinion, and I went through, Toby, 100% what you went through on the reserve side, and I was actually the COO at the time of CMA.
Yeah.
So I remember turning in my stuff, and they said, "Oh, is there anything you need, ma'am? There over there is a list of," and they were brochures, and I thought, "What the?"
Yeah, no, like I got I got handed like a book. The
I'm
cool
like, can I get a flower or something after almost 15 years? Is there anything that, a drink, a glass of wine?
Yeah. No, like the cool thing is you brought it up, but I think the Army's trying to change it. It's trying to rectify it. You know, they have it used to be what, ACAP?
And now it's the transition
Yeah.
assistance program, but it's encompassed by Soldier for Life, right?
Who
It's with many. It's
is
with
run
many.
by
It's
It
with.
it
Yeah,
has gone through many names, but now it's Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program, and the goal is that they're looking at implementing into Army professional military education the 360 model. So the Soldier 360, to start understanding and thinking about transition from day one. So here's my thing: is that we're less than 1%, right? As veterans, we're less than 1%. We can't look at the system on a whole and say, "Hey, you need to change it, you need to do this," or look at corporate America and say, "You need to change this, you need to do." I'm going to look at it and say, "No, what can I do?" Right? What can you guys do? And what can we do as a team to ensure our brothers and sisters aren't left to no options? How can we bridge that gap? And that to me is a battle I'm willing to face. It's that mountain that I'm willing to climb versus sweeping back the ocean with a broom, right?
Let me jump. Let me jump on one thing here. How important what you're doing is. Because I truly, we have this epidemic about the 22 a day, where we're all familiar with, and we know. And some people say, "Oh, it's because these guys are in Iraq or in Afghanistan and that stuff." And if you look at some of the stats, and I don't have them off the top of my head, there's a big majority of those that have never deployed.
That's right.
22 a day. But I know this. I know when I got out of active duty in 1996, they had a TAP, ACAP, whatever. It had a bunch of letters to it, the flavor of the day transition program. And it was about 2 weeks long. For a number of reasons, I got to start it a lot earlier. My unit took care of me. I gave a lot to them. And when it was time to get out, and they knew I was going out, I had a family to support. They gave me literally a couple months. And all I did was go to resume writing classes and go to the transition. And my unit was let me go. They knew I was getting out. I turned down E7. I'm getting out there. Like, this guy's no joke. Let's set him up for success. Had they not done that, which they didn't have to do, and kept me to the 2-week minimum that they had to do, and I would have walked out with a house and a family to support. Me and my wife had a great job, and had just walked out with just 2 weeks to try to figure out how to integrate back into civilian life. I am sure I would have had a much more stressful transition, if I would even have had a transition, if I would even had a job. Now, I went right into the National Guard right from there. I was kind of recruited into a Guard unit, but still, it would have been a much tougher ordeal. I look at that, and I look at how it was when I retired, and with 22 years, and I didn't get about like the same thing. I had to call up and say, "Is there something I'm supposed to go to?" They're like, "No, you're just done." It was done. There was nothing. 22 years. There was not a briefing there because it was National Guard, even though half the time was active. They were like, "Go." "No, you're fine. You don't need to." I'm like, "Do I got to go to Fort Drum?" Nope. So I think about the today we have today, these young guys getting out that, yes, they go through a lot of combat and see a lot of crap, guys and girls both. And some don't go to combat at all, but they still get out at 6 years, 8 years. And if they don't have a good transition plan, and God forbid they have a family they're trying to support, You don't have to look far to wonder why some of them think they have nowhere to turn.
Right.
And I bring that up, and I go on this kind of little diatribe here because I think what you're doing is a very critical, important thing. We see a lot of nonprofits that are doing all kind of stuff. Man, they're building houses, they're getting wheelchairs, they're retrofitting vans, they're doing a lot of stuff for amputees and stuff like that. They're sending, the children of those that are killed into college. But ones like what you're doing, I think are seriously overlooked because I think they could be key to cutting that number down to a lot lower in 22. I don't know for a fact.
No, this is something that I'm beyond passionate about right now, and I'll tell you why. Because when we started as a family of veterans in 2011, officially becoming a 501c3 in 2013, our mission was solely that. We saw the mental health statistics. We saw the PTSD, the trauma, the veteran suicide, and thought again, how do we bridge that gap? What's frustrating to me is that as the original, in a sense, community-based program, now I see all these other individuals, our own brothers and sisters, who have been through our program, similar programs, TAP, transitioned successfully, and now they've written a book, and they're going to charge you for their advice.
I know that guy.
Oh,
I know that
guy. That who, and so it's beyond frustrating me to look at, okay, if we can't get it together as brothers and sisters in uniform, you expect the community to have our back? Or to give you a job now, when again, we're not sharing. You think that I would hide my resume or the fact that I have the ability to articulate a resume or clearly identify who I am, and I'm not going to share that with a brother or sister who needs assistance?
So, Troy, you know some of this. When I got out, it was you witnessed some of it. You witnessed me doing some of that. But
yeah, I remember some.
Yes, unfortunately, that'll probably show up. That's why I can never run for office. But
good.
People did things for me. Like, I didn't know how to do a resume. I knew how to do a resume, but I didn't know how to do the resume appropriate for my time and position. And what I mean by that is the time, like the resume classes that were available, they were so outdated. Like they didn't have, they didn't know what a hyperlink was. They didn't, like now, your LinkedIn is your resume. You got to make sure that's wired-tight. You got to do that stuff. And you need someone to speak into you about that. And I was very, very blessed that I had a retired Colonel, Army infantry guy, Greg Gardner. Shout out to my man there. That and to this day is still a business mentor to me. That was all right, Toby, sit down, son. This is what you need. You need to do this. You need to, create a CV. Because you and I have done a lot of writing. And having that CV. I didn't even know what CV meant. I had to learn what a CV was. Prepare that stuff for all these different things, because sometimes a resume is appropriate, sometimes a CV is appropriate.
That's right.
But Greg helped me, do that stuff. What he didn't know is even after I had a job and I was trying to pretend like I had my shit together, Shantae, among other things, I hired her as my trainer, my personal trainer, and she made me puke in front of my daughter. Totally uncool.
Did I?
Totally uncool. And no, it was my son. He made me puke in front of my son.
Oh.
Yeah. But no, but her dad came by Soldiers Angels there down in San Antonio, and her dad, we had a really good conversation, and and I believe that he was recruiting or working for a school at the time, Grand Canyon University, and he was like, hey, so what are you doing about your education? What's your education to have this job? How did you leverage your education to get this job? And I was like, I didn't. I don't have what I need. I know I need more. And you know, he was like, oh, you should probably think about going to school. And I went to Grand Canyon University, and you know, picked up you know some more classes, and you know, kind of got back into the you know back into the education process, and then doing it you know executive education and stuff. But before they started Centurion Military Alliance, they were actually doing this stuff. Like they said, they were the first community model or whatever their family, but like they did it for like people around them. Like, and I'm one of them. Like they were like, you should probably go to school. You should probably get your ass back in shape. You know, you're getting fat, Toby. You know, like, but you know, the reason I bring that up is because this is a crucial thing. The transition. There's so many facets of it. You know, and you're talking about the three pillars. You're talking about like the education. You're talking about the financial literacy. You're talking about all these different things. These three main pillars of CMA. This is crucial. And you know, Troy, you hit the nail on the head. If we had more guys and gals coming out with not just a, you know, like a better plan, a plan. A lot of them just have no plan. They're just like, I'm just tired. I want to get out. You know, I remember talking to soldiers, you know, as they were, you know, getting ready to get out and being like, hey, so what are you doing? I think I'm going to go to school. What for? You know, I don't know. You know, like, it's like, okay, look, dude, like you said, you got a house, you got kids, you got a wife, you got bills. Like, 1st and the 15th isn't happening anymore. But what are you going to do to make sure that the 1st and the 15th comes again for the rest of your life?
Well, like, and here's the problem, because you brought up education, and what absolutely kills us as a family. If you saw the statistics, and I appreciate you saying that about my father, because now he actually works for Houston Community College, and he can give you the statistics on young troops that get out and say, I'm going to college, and they stay enrolled there until their GI Bill runs out. And to him, he's going, no, we're going to change that. What rep did you sit down with? Who did you speak to? And he saw it a lot in his previous job with Lone Star Community College here in Houston. And it disheartened him, because he thought, what rep were you speaking to where you walk away utilizing capping out on your GI Bill with no degree? How does that happen? Because they think they're just going to tap into, they're going to go to some community college, a local school, and they're going to get full BAH benefits, right? It's all about the full BAH, where it's partial if you go online. But if you go online, and you can enroll straight into a bachelor's degree program, which most service members can, whether it's the bachelor's, the master's, the PhD, the certifications, the licensures, and you can work at the same time. We have the bandwidth to do so.
Absolutely.
And what frustrates me is that you have a lot of leaders that will tell you, oh, they didn't have the bandwidth for school, so here's a community college for them. No, that I call BS, because those troops have a bandwidth to run circles around any young 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old in school doing God knows what, right? Because we all know the extra time we have on our hands when we're going to college. And now they don't have the bandwidth to go to one class at a time online, completing their education.
No, like there's a lot of issues with that. You know, the misnomer, like that myth that, and I talked a lot of experiences going to a residential college had challenges for me. And the reason it had challenges is because I had to sit in a classroom with a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds that knew everything, and you know, we're going to save the world. And like I sat there, you know, trying to think of ways not to smash their heads. You know, I was like, okay, what did the teacher say? What's the professor saying? Because that's more important than me wanting to kill this person right now. But, you know, it's like Secretary Mattis said when he was, you know, General Mattis, he's like, if you don't have time to read, you don't have time to study, you don't have time to better yourself, you don't have time to improve yourself, like, you need to, like, get out. It's like,
So here's the thing with all those books. I consider myself to be a lifelong learner, 100% lifelong learner. I now have time to read the other books that we've also graciously written our stories, our special stories. But why should a service member read one of those books if they do not have their civilian education complete for the job that they think that they could get as they transition out, the job they want to apply for, yet they can't even articulate again or cross-reference or translate their military skills because they don't have, by the very civilian means, that education.
Yeah,
right?
no, there's the education piece is so crucial because while guys and gals are overseas serving, picking up a wealth of experience, a level of education that you can't get
That's right.
in any academic setting, their peer group are getting that academic. You know, they're checking those blocks, and you know, a lot of guys and gals come out and they think that they're going to be ahead of their peer group, when in actuality, they're not ahead; they're behind, and they need to close that distance. They need to close that ground. They need to get on the offensive, get into the classrooms, and close that ground, and then marry that with their experience. You know, one of the things my dad, you know, I quote him a lot, but you know, he always reminded me throughout life that there's different types of people, and one person is the person that has knowledge of, and there's the other person that has acquaintance with. And he's like, you need to be the guy that has knowledge of and acquaintance with if you want to be a craftsman, if you want to be successful. You got to not only know the material, you have to be able to apply and have the experience of its application. But so we don't want to like run you late, but want to talk to you about a couple of different things. Physical fitness. You're a certified trainer. You got all these like amazing. Yeah, see, there it is. What? What role do you think physical fitness plays in the transition?
Excuse me, I have a little Houston cough, so I'm playing mom right now. So I mean, I am a mom, but I've been playing the role of dealing with a 4 and a 5-year-old up all night, every night with the cough and the sickness. So I've had it all day today. I'm impressed my voice lasted this long. But you know, here's the thing with physical fitness. You come from the military where PT is a standard, where you're used to it. And you get out of the military and you think, I'm not running anymore. I'm not doing that PT anymore. I don't have the capability to do it. I'm gonna, you know, grow out my facial hair. I'm gonna do the rainbow hair. All these different things. And yet you're not grounded in who you are as a civilian. Right? So think about the process for a minute. If I'm not comfortable in the civilian attire and who I'm required now to be, in a sense, to articulate who I am, why am I going to give up the very things that defined me and that made me marketable? Civilians want us because of who we are, what we represent, this global force. We're fit, we're furious, we're coming in, we're articulate, we can accomplish anything and everything. They know that. They know that. And so, hey, how do we get into that veteran space? How do we hire veterans? So I always tell people, initially, do not quit the things that you think weren't you. Stick to the fitness, stick to the normal grooming patterns, stick to the very things that you did until you finally become grounded. You get that first job under your belt and you start to know who you are in the civilian sector.
The aspect of that, in addition to the mental aspect, you know, like when you're in better shape, you know, when you're healthier, you're emotionally healthier, you're spiritually healthier, right? Oh, hold on, the fire department's driving by the studio, but so you guys are knocking down things. You've done events in Hawaii, done events in Washington D.C. You've been out at I saw you out there with Sergeant Major Troxel a couple weeks. Well, I guess it was about a month ago, out in El Paso. you're hanging out with one of my former bosses, Adam Rock, who's has taken on the Soldier for Life program. You're also hanging out with another one of my like old bosses, Chuck Hodges, who's big in the transition. Him and so it's like I'm seeing you guys with big hitters. You guys are really going after this. That what started as a small little like let's help the people in our area. You have taken the show on the road. I mean, Hawaii to DC. That's a pretty good spread. Like that's a broad brushstroke. And you guys are
well, let me address the Hawaii thing for those listening. A lot of times we get teased, oh, Hawaii is so terrible. So again, my whole family was military, and my sister-in-law was stationed out there as an Army nurse, and that's where her and my brother had resided for a while. And that is why we initially went out there, and then we saw the living standards, and you hear of all the young troops, and my sister-in-law telling me, hey, all these young nurses and medics, they think they're just going to get out and survive on the island, and they're going to have this great life. And when you start pulling up statistics and looking at it, we thought, my God, who's out there sharing this knowledge with you and informing you? So originally it was due to them being stationed out there. And it just happened to tie in again where it was, we're out there a week before hiring our heroes, and we formulate a relationship with hiring our heroes. We are left of the job fair. So I like to look at it as the hiring our heroes is doing phenomenal things. They're on every major military installation. We are there on the outskirts saying, articulate who you are. Make sure you have an elevator pitch. Make sure you talk to every single employer that's at that job fair, because they're coming on base for you to support you. If you walk up like, so what you got for me? Or you
Not
pass
much.
by, it happens all the time, or you pass by certain tables because you think that they don't have a role for you, but you have no idea who they know. So you have to be able to leverage strategically that network. And again, simply, we teach people at CMA to simply walk up to every single table, thank them for being there, thank them for supporting, and to start building their network.
Let me ask you real quick. Do you think if you run into military members getting out thinking that they're owed something, like they are a discount on
Sure.
Day, that they think they should walk up and that recruiters should just throw them jobs to thank them for their service?
And that's kind of one of my taglines. And what I love about what we do is we start the day off at Centurion Military Alliance with educational attainment. We show you the pay chart of what you're used to getting paid, and then what you think you're going to get paid on the outside. And again, we all economically free fall 20 to 30K. So initially it's a punch to the gut, if you will, because we all think this red carpet effect. Well, hiring our heroes was just here, and all these employers said, we want to hire you, we want to support you, we want you. And yet, where are they on the outside of the gate? Where are they when you message them on LinkedIn or email back saying, how was my resume? Or are you getting a call back? Again, that's why it's so critical that the community comes in and says, look, it's going to be difficult, bottom line. And that next job probably isn't going to be your forever job. If it was, then why are civilians still out there looking for additional employment? Right?
Statistically, transitioning veterans will have 11 jobs in 14 months post-transition. That's on average, 11 jobs in 14 months. Like, you're at some jobs not long enough to get paid.
And here's the thing is that, or you carry multiple jobs, right? Those that are successful. I know I can speak to it personally. My husband has held multiple jobs. Why? Because we're going to do anything and everything that we need to make it and to stay afloat. But if you have a support structure in place that's going to help you articulate and craft narrative, bottom line, don't do it alone. Your MOS, your AFSC, whatever that is, it's not new. Don't stop thinking about how do I translate my military experience, and start looking at the job description and saying, this is what I did in the military that reflects on that.
Yeah.
Stop looking at it from that whole 360 approach, because in the military, again, I was logistics, education and training, and then a combat lifesaver in a matter of days.
Yeah.
Stop thinking from that level and think, again, how can I speak to this job description with an organization that might fit my needs right now?
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Now we have a great Dan Robles, good friend of ours, great guy, great American, Master Sergeant, Army, your people, Troy. You know, he wasn't on the Bravo side; he was on that Chuck side. But you know, Danimal, you know, he made this comment. I went to the CMA in San Antonio at RBFCU last year. I learned so much. This was 9 years after I retired. 7 years. 7 years after I retired. Think about that.
He damn smart. Where do you think I spent over half my career? I was 11 Charlie. That means Dan can do math.
Yeah.
The only smart.
No, but like
smart.
here, and Dan, you know, like I think he's a wonderful example. You know, he's an EA. You know, educated. He's been going back to school. I think he just graduated this spring. Now he's moving on into the workforce with a highly competitive intern program. They're going to make a movie about him. I'm kidding. No, I loved Animal, but that's such good word to hear that 7 years after he retired, he was able to like go to an event and get something out of it. And not just something, he said a lot. And I take his word on a lot of stuff. I'm really excited for you guys. Anything that you need to let our listening and viewing audience know about upcoming events, anything like that?
Just from RBSCU standpoint, that's Randolph Brooks Federal Credit Union, and they have been supporters of CMA since we started. And that's so huge, because when you're looking at a financial institution, I'm constantly pushing them to come in, set up a table, do more. And they're simply there to support. They've never asked us for metrics, for nothing. They want to support the military affiliated community. And they actually travel with us to where they don't even have banking institutions because they believe in the message. So huge shout out. Thanks to RBFCU. Going forward, July or June, we're in June right now.
Mm-hmm.
Very excited. June 7th is our El Paso event. So Fort Bliss, Texas. We'll be out there next week for a Centurion Military Alliance event. Michael Quinn, LinkedIn guru, he will be there as well. So that's another huge shout out. What Mike Quinn has been doing is phenomenal on LinkedIn. And then going forward with June 19th, Mike Quinn will be in San Diego, California at Camp Pendleton, hosting another event. All of this is free for our transitioning service members, veterans, spouses, caregivers, for free, no charge, for all the information that we have to offer. June 20th, we will be holding an event with the Joint Women's Leadership Symposium, a transition event sponsored by Microsoft. And then June 21st through 22nd is the Joint Women's Leadership Symposium, where I will be moderating 2 different panels. So we already have, I know from the any employers listening, we have around 1,000 women, military leaders, already registered to attend that event in San Diego. June 22nd, we will end that event with your buddy, Fastport VP, Adam Rock. They are hosting, and they have really supported the Wounded Warrior Amputee football team. There will be a game that Friday night that we are ending. So anybody wanting to get on board and sponsor or support that game, it's free, again, to attend for all veterans, transitioning service members, military, spouses, caregivers. And then lastly, July 26th, our mega event in San Antonio, Texas. So it'll be our 6th annual mega event.
All right. So were you teasing me earlier when you said you had a rant?
No, and I mean, my rant was just that. With everything that we do, that we support, the information that we give out freely, and yet here are some that get out, our own brothers and sisters, and think, I'm going to make a profit off that. I'm going to bank off that. off the dread of the transition process. And that grant, for what I believe in. I have my education, certifications, licensures, executive level coaching. I could charge you for this, right? I'm freely giving it to you. And we have these service members that think they can get out and don't hold the education, and they're going to charge you. Blows my mind. So
it's I share in that dislike for that.
That's any different than every used car salesman out the back gate that claims he used to be a retired sergeant major, probably got out of his
taxi driver.
Fort
Benning,
They were
all the taxi drivers. I'm a whole first sergeant.
Yeah, that's it. And,
all right, well, Shante, absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for taking time out of your day. We're sorry we missed Jared. I believe he's traveling, so we were unable to have him on with you. We wanted to have both of you, but so proud of what you guys are doing. So impressed by the efficiency and the level at which you guys are executing. It is awesome. And, we just absolutely, appreciate what you guys do. I can't wait to catch up with y'all and get down and get through this. If Dan says I can get something out of it, I probably need to sit my butt down and do something, because you can't be an entrepreneur all your life. But again, thanks for coming on. You can find Centurion Military Alliance on Facebook. You follow them on Twitter at CMA_warrior. I believe you said Jared's the moderator of the Twitter, and then you guys got great. You got the Facebook, but most importantly, LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn. Get connected. That's really where it's at. Any last words? Anything? Any parting wisdom?
Just thank you so much for the opportunity to come on. It was great.
Oh, I loved it. I'm just so proud of you guys. I'm so excited. Glad we could finally get you on. I know we've been trying to get you on for, it feels like a long time. It just, with dates and travel, it just wasn't working out. And I'm glad we were able to nail it down and make it happen. So this is awesome. Yeah. But we're gonna bid you adieu, and then we are going to continue with some very special Memorial Day thoughts. Unless you have any Memorial Day thoughts you want to share before you leave.
Oh, we always remember John Amos. So thank you for asking, and several of my father's friends and my grandpa. Memorial Day is very special and near and dear to our hearts. So thank you for that, Toby.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad I learned about you guys. Toby never told me about what you guys do. I think it's awesome. Like I said, I think you guys are a gem, and the word definitely needs to get out there more. Toby knows so many people. He can't think of it all. Dude's super connected. But,
that's what I bring. Thanks again, Shante.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Now Toby's got to do tech. Uh-oh, gotta
figure. Bear with me, everybody, while I do some tech.
There we go. Yeah. So Toby's doing that. Hopefully, I'm not going to come across as with a bad echo like I did earlier. I was kind of talking for a while there, Toby. You notice I went quiet for a while because I was getting reports that I was getting a bad echo, so I just tried to stay off the air. Not sure why that was, but. Anyways, yeah, what a great guest. Look, if you are someone that got out yourself, if you know someone that's getting out, if you got a buddy that's about to get out, if you know someone that got out a while ago, but they just can't seem to get their grasp, if they're doing the 11 jobs in 14 months or whatever it is, if they just can't find where they belong, turn them on to CMA, have them look into there, have them talk to them. I mean, I got so many stories to go along, and I cannot, and I've always given my thanks over and over to my unit for letting me go through the amount of transition time I did, because it made such a big difference. Okay, getting echo again. I don't know why they're getting echo on me, Toby. I don't know if I'm coming across your speakers and your mic's picking it up. I'm thinking that may be it, but I don't know why Shante didn't do the same thing. I'm not sure why they would hear an echo on me separate.
Man, I really suck at this tech thing.
Well, I don't see me, so I know you. Oh, wait. What do I see? That's weird. Um, am I at an angle or something?
Yeah, it's not. It's. I don't know what's
Okay.
up, man.
Do you hear an echo from me, Toby?
No, I do not.
Okay. Um, there's something picking me up on your end, I guess. I don't know if you have sound siphon on or not. I don't know what it is. I don't know why there'd be an echo on me. Um, and oh, I'm watching my video disappear. Hey, buddy, you're seeing tech in action as I'm being morphed into looks like a tornado, is what I look like. But anyways, like I say, it was when I got out infantry. I didn't look for it to be a cop. I didn't look to do this. Before I got into computers, I was applying for office manager jobs. I was applying to organizational admin type jobs because I figured I could take my experience as a mid-level NCO. If I could organize and run a section, run a squad, I could run a small office. I could do task prioritization and organization and work management. Those were all very applicable skills. I learned to go after that type of work because of the transition stuff I did. So definitely check out CMA because it sounds like they put you on that same boat. And Toby, you've done some cool stuff with the graphics there, dude.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on.
Okay. Well, you could always reset that. Just remove it and put me back on it. But while you're doing that, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. But hopefully I'm not coming across too echoey anymore. Hey, yesterday was try using headphones or turning your speakers down. I think Robles is talking to you. I don't know because I would not be getting echo on me. And unfortunately, I have to keep my speakers on for the speaker feed. But maybe if you can put speakers on, Toby, maybe that'll help. We'll see. Thanks, Dan. Hopefully that helps. We may hire Dan on as our tech guy. So
Well, Dan's been known to do a little traveling with me. Dan and I we've seen some countryside together, some good times, some good campsites.
okay.
Is that better?
Well, I don't. You have to ask them. Everyone, let me know if you still hear an echo. I see my video back, and now that's back. So hopefully it's better, and hopefully there's no echo.
Echo.
Yeah.
Right, hey,
Anyways,
let's talk Memorial Day.
So, you and I talked a lot. You've written over a year ago about some different reflection and perspective on Memorial Day. I wrote also a year ago a two-part post about Memorial Day, and we actually, Toby, in hindsight, we were talking about vet flakes before that was even a thing.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
And
and I don't want to
now
take credit for it because it's
a hot thing. This thought, right?
Well, like first of all, you got guys like John Burke, appropriating our vet flake culture, and so like you know you got these guys going out there and like being vet flakes, and then telling you not to be a vet flake, which is very vet flakish. So, like, not impressed with John Burke at all. I watched his message the other day, and it was almost verbatim a post that I wrote on the Rhino Den for Ranger Up, almost verbatim, using the exact same references that and cases that I used and stuff. So it's like but here's the thing: a lot of people, I I experience it every Memorial Day, and it doesn't bother me, and I don't understand why people get so bent, out of shape about it. and I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to get some angry messages in the chat rooms. I'm probably going to get some voicemails, text messages, IMs, whatever. If someone wishes you a happy Memorial Day, like you don't need to blow a gasket. You don't need to like get all bent over it. Like they're identifying that you participated in something to which you've experienced loss. You know, like, you know, it's not Sergeant Major Plumley. Like, how do you know what kind of day it is? Like, that's not what this is about. You know,
Right.
It's about America taking the opportunity that Memorial Day is a purely American holiday. It's not an allied holiday. It's not like it's not like
right.
November 11th. This is a purely American holiday. The nation of America is taking the time to say, hey, some people served, some people did more. Let's have a day to honor them. And as a result, like, let's kick off a lot of things that make America great. I'm not saying this as a tie into someone's political motto. I'm not saying this for anything other than the purpose of its proper usage. The things that make America great are freedom, the ability to do things, and that is because people made the ultimate sacrifice. Every guy that I know that is dead, if I sat around moping and mourning them and they were here or they witnessed it, they would kick my butt. They would ask, why am I wasting my time? Like, true, yes, honor them, but like, hey, I died so you could have this barbecue. Go have it. Take your kids out. Tell them why we're celebrating. It's not that you're celebrating someone's death. You're celebrating the life that they gave for a lifestyle, for what they believed in. That's worth celebrating. It's worth celebrating that these people existed. It's worth celebrating that these people exist. So when someone tells you that, they're acknowledging like, hey, you're the kind of guy that we celebrate because we appreciate what we have. And when people get bent, they're like, oh, and I get it. It's a hard day. You know, I was like reading some, Robert Stokely stuff the other day, and I was like, man, I know he's missing his son. But, like there's a message of hope in there. There's a message of like, drive on in there. And we have to like get past, as veterans, we have to get past this like, because, dude, like get over yourself. Someone's trying to say something nice.
Like, well, it's like what I wrote.
Fix lighting.
All right, it's like what I wrote the other day. Memorial Day is not for the Gold Star families. Their Memorial Day is 365. They have Memorial Day every day of the year. And, it's not just on the birthdays and anniversaries. Every day they think about that loved one. They don't need Memorial Day to remember their loved one. Gold Star, it is not for them. And it is not for the military member who obviously, whether they've been to combat or not, they are probably touched, especially after this many years of war, by somebody through a first or second, third-hand relation to someone that was lost in war or someone that really suffered in war. Memorial Day is for our country to pause. It's not only held on military, it's for the country to pause and remember and think about, at least that there's a day for it. And I'm with you, Toby. I mean, how did I spend my Memorial Day? I spent a big chunk of it doing landscaping around my house, getting my house ready for the summertime, getting my backyard ready. I was out there pulling weeds and cleaning and spraying down a deck and doing that kind of stuff before we cleaned up and we went and visited some of my old friends and my old soldiers. And we did that in the afternoon when I knew everyone would be out of the way. And we went to our big cemetery and we just looked at the flags that the Scouts and the VFW, American Legion, and we have put out many, many years. Yeah. And we straighten. I think now as I go straighten them up because they're not always put in properly, so I have to go get them straight, make sure they're right. And I go visit old friends and old comrades, and I shed tears. And you better damn well believe I did yesterday. After years and years of these guys being gone, I still shed tears because when I put my hand on that stone, I feel them. I feel them as if my hand was on their shoulder, like when I'm with you. I can feel them to the core. The images that flash in my head of when I saw them, when we laughed, experiences we had, good, bad, or indifferent, they are all there in an instant. And just like now, I get emotional. And I can't help it. And I talk to them, and I spend a few moments, and I bid them adieu, and I tell them I'll see them next time, and I walk away, and I move on. And then I go back to my house, and I throw stuff on the grill, and I invite my son over, who's also a vet, and we share some times together. And we cook, and we eat, and we hit the hot tub, and we chill out, and we laugh, and we talk, and that's what we do. Because that's what it's about. Because you're right. Because you don't have to die in combat. If I die right now and I fall from a freaking heart attack, I want my friends and my loved ones to remember my life, to remember the laughs we've had, the good times we've had, and everything else. I don't want them to always just boo-hoo, even if I didn't die in combat, much less if I died in combat, just like you said. If I was, I'd come back and kick your butt. Dude, you get to do what I can't. That's okay. Enjoy it. Enjoy those freedoms.
So I was talking with someone the other day, and when I say the other day, yesterday, and they were like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I was like, "Great, man. I got up this morning, helped my buddy Travis, he borrowed some kayaks from us, so that he could go do a little fishing, like got him squared away, got him, like out on the water early, and I pulled out the bike, we went for a little ride. I'm doing great. How you doing?" You're like, "Oh, well, like, I know this is probably a really hard, sad day for you." I'm like, "Well, dude, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, like there's a couple, hard moments in it, but." They're like, "Well, how do you process it?" Well, I'm like, "Well, I'm a Christian. I process it. I'm a Christian. I don't celebrate the death and resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ only one weekend a year. Like I do it every time I plant my faith. Like I celebrate His life. Like every time I open the Bible to the New Testament, I don't dwell on like the bad stuff. I dwell on like, it's Easter's a holiday weekend. Like I enjoy His life and I celebrate His life more than just one weekend a year. And I do that with like the friends that I've lost. Like yeah, every day's Memorial Day, every day's Easter Sunday. Like it's the same thing. I appreciate it. Like I embrace it, and I know like the person made the comment, "Well, that's a pretty extreme comparison." I'm like, yeah, it is, but it's the same. I don't celebrate like as a Christian, as a believer, like every day is Easter Sunday.
Hey. Yeah. Hey, look. One gave his life for you to have a good life on earth, and the other one gave his life for you to have a good life forever.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's the same thing. Like
yes.
But
if those that fell in combat were believers themselves, they are living in the most ultimate that we can ever imagine. Right. So anyone that's a true believer knows that they are in the ultimate area ever. So. Yeah, I mean, it is, having led soldiers and like you and having lost soldiers and stuff like that, it hurts, it pains, it sucks, but at the same time, that is what combat is. That's why I always tell people the warfighter is the strongest peacenik and the strongest person for peace you'll ever meet, because they know what it costs, more so than the freaking hippie on the street corner waving a sign or wanting to occupy something. The person that has seen the horrors of war, like you and I, and countless others, that have seen the innocents maimed, that have seen children mutilated and killed, that have seen their buddies and people they didn't even like give their life for their country and everything else, they're the last ones that want to go to war because they know the freaking cost of it. But we also know sometimes that's the cards that get dealt to us, and we signed up for that job regardless. And we sign up for that job, so God forbid others and those behind us never have to go through that.
Right? No, I just think that some people are taking the social media platform as an opportunity to draw attention to themselves, and they just want to be angry. And it's like, if you're that miserable in your life that you gotta be angry all the time, you gotta tell everyone how angry you are, right? Like, you're a miserable person. And you're like,
you don't like fireworks?
I know Jake the Man. I never take Jake off. I sleep with Jake. I don't take him off at TSA. I don't, like, I take my wedding ring off. Like, I in fact, but I never take Jake off. And people are like, wow, that's pretty somber. That's pretty, like, like, you ever gonna let that go? And I'm like, I don't wear this so I get bummed out every day. I wear it so, like, every day, it doesn't matter what I do. If I'm waking up, taking a shower, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm doing push-ups because my trainer's mean, if I'm doing burpees, that's not true. I have taken it off for jiu-jitsu. And that's just because the harm that it could bring to the other person training. But I wear it so that every time I look at my wrist, I'm like, Toby, live well today. Like, earn this. Like, be better. Be a better dad. Be a better husband. Be a better son. Be a better everything. Be better. Like, because, like, you have the opportunity. Be better. And that's not somber. Like, that's joyful. Like, be happy. Like, be happy. Like, don't feel sorry for yourself. Like, like, you're doing burpees? Yeah, awesome. You're lucky enough to be able to do them. You're lucky enough to have a trainer that's sadistic and tells funny stories about her kids while she's, like, destroying your soul. Like, I'm that fortunate, But,
yeah, I'm with you, man. Dave's with me for 14 years now, right? I've had this on there, and it's a part of me. I'm saying, if it comes off, I can't remember the last time that came off. It probably has. I've taken it off for a couple of times, but it does not come off. It's a part of me, and I look at it. And when I was there yesterday at his stone, you know what I think about? I think about, wonder what he'd be doing if he were like, what would he be doing? What would he have? Family? Would he have this? Would he have that? I'm like, I just wonder what opportunities or where he would have went in life. But at the same time, a little while later, when I'm literally bent over pulling weeds out between bricks, I had this thought. I didn't even mention this to my wife, dude. I was sitting there thinking, it's like, back bent over, sun's beating on me, my fingers are raw. I've been pulling weeds and doing landscaping all day. And I had a moment, an epiphany, and I thought, dang, how lucky am I to be here? How lucky that my wife's not at a freaking cemetery putting rocks and coins on my tombstone. I had this thought for like just a few moments. I was out there by myself, the country music's playing, and I just thought, and it's just the weirdest thing, dude. The first time I've ever had this happen, I thought, I'm the luckiest dude ever. I'm home, but I'm home. And my wife and my kids aren't sitting on the grass looking at a white stone with my name on it. To me, I was like, I'm blessed. Yeah. How lucky am I? Because there's how many people how many would give everything they had to be in that position versus where they're at? How many families would do whatever it could to have their loved one there doing something so mundane as that? So I just kind of had that. It was like an epiphany I had yesterday afternoon. And I was like, yep, this is all right. I just pull it faster. I was like just yanking weeds and throwing stuff away. I'm like, you got to be appreciative of that. People ask me at work, they're like, dude, you got so much going on. How do you not get stressed out? Toby, my answer ever since I've gotten back in 2007 till today. No one's shooting at me. Nobody's blowing me up. It's a pretty good, this ain't stressful.
Perspective. Hey, speaking of celebrating, I want to celebrate some Enlisted 9 Fight Company because they take good care of us. They take good care of the community. They have some great philanthropic efforts going on. But Enlisted 9 Fight Company always been supporting us. The big sponsor. When we started, the show earlier. We kind of jumped in due to some technical issues, and we didn't identify all our sponsors. But wanted to celebrate them. Wanted to draw attention to them. Make sure you go to Enlisted 9 Fight Company. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on the web. You can also find them at gruntstyle.com under collections Enlisted 9 or extras Enlisted 9. Find them there. Go check them out. I'm wearing this shirt in honor of basketball because I don't like it. And so this is the only basketball shirt I can get behind. And it's instead of being Philadelphia, it's like Phila-terrorist with some 7.6 tours. So it's a message that I can endorse. Go Stars. The Texas Stars won in overtime last night to go to the Calder Cup against the Toronto Marlies. Yes.
Go my Las Vegas Golden Knights above the Caps.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing one of my favorite Enlisted 9 shirts, a gift from you, my brother. And speaking of Enlisted 9, they have a whole new line of designs out. Go check them out. They do have new shirts, awesome looking hats. We'll be sporting them soon. And they get your VO hat. Yeah. So they got that, and they got a whole bunch of new shirts coming out. We're going to be sporting some ourselves pretty soon. But great folks over there.
But thanks to everyone else. Gear for Grunts, Veteran Outdoors, obviously, Mighty Oaks Warrior Programs. Just had a huge week. Mighty Oaks Warrior Programs had a zoo gifted to them in Ohio so that they could continue to do their work, and expand, their campuses. So they had just, had a huge week out there, taking more warriors through, and going through that resiliency training. Wonderful stuff. Veteran Outdoors, always just knocking them dead, sometimes figuratively and literally. But great week. Next week, we're going to talk about, we might have an announcement. We might have to shift some things. But excited for what's coming on. Thanks for tuning in. Shantae was awesome. Yeah, I told you, that family's a special family. Her and Jared are a special family. Great couple, great parents. They got 2 little superheroes growing up. They do all these 5Ks together. Worth the follow. That's all I got. I got to get going because there's a young lady playing a varsity volleyball game I got to get to right now.
All right. Okay, buddy. You guys have a great night, and we'll see y'all next week.